Welcome to the Peak Revival podcast. My name is Vesta. Today, I'm going to talk about how emotional well-being leads to better results for leaders. So whether you're a business owner, a manager, a team leader, the way that you handle your own emotions impacts the results that you get in those areas. The ability to regulate our emotions is seen in nearly all top performers, and it's not about having the right circumstances. It's about the tools that we can access to access our emotional resilience using nutritional psychology, habits, and our mental game, which I'm going to talk about on this episode. So Warren Buffett, the famous billionaire, he had a famous quote and he said, "If you can't manage your emotions, you cannot manage money." Now, I think this is very true, and I see it in business because when we look at business, it's an emotional roller coaster. And if we don't know how to handle our emotions, we are going to go in the highs really high and then in the lows very low. And so we can catastrophize, get overwhelmed, which is very draining when we have to run a business or we have to manage a team or we have a lot of responsibilities. I see this in a lot of clients who are kind of heading towards functional freeze or burnout, is that they are very overwhelmed and highly strung because of this inability to regulate emotions, and it does lead to burnout. So what can we do to influence this? Because as I said, when we look at top performers, it's not that they don't have challenges and stresses, they do, they just navigate it differently. And the difference can mean a lot in terms of if you're feeling very emotionally overwhelmed, there's too much of a mental load in your current work, you are not going to enjoy that work as much. You may even dread going in, and it's going to affect your performance. It's going to affect the way that you speak to your team, the way that you lead, the way you deal with problems. It's your ability to stay calm and confident amongst everything that's going on. So how do we influence it? Number one, we're looking at nutritional psychology. So our nutrition not only affects our body, it affects our brain. And so we need building blocks of nutrition to make sure that we create the right neurotransmitters, which are chemical messengers in our brain, to produce the feelings of calm, confident, collected, got it together, everything's going to be okay. And one of the first things that's really overlooked is dehydration. Water has a huge impact on our brain. Just slight dehydration will increase the levels of cortisol, our stress hormone, and lower our serotonin, which is our feel-good hormone. It makes us feel like everything's okay. So that's number one. Check that you are drinking enough water. It doesn't have to be the full 8 glasses, but even if it's 5 to 6 glasses a day, to make sure that you're hydrated. The second one in nutritional psychology that I often talk about is blood sugar level fluctuation. So when we're living on this roller coaster of the wrong kind of carbohydrates, we're missing meals, we're living off caffeine and not having enough food, it sends the sugar levels up and down. And our brain needs glucose as its main source of fuel, and it can really affect our mood. So low glucose or glucose disruption mimics anxiety and depression. It can make us irritable. It can rob us of our focus and our productivity because the brain simply doesn't have the fuel. And the biggest one is that it affects our ability to make decisions. There was a study done to really prove this, right? They looked at what judges ate for breakfast and how it determined their outcomes or their decisions for people who had the opportunity to go on parole. And they found that after breakfast, they gave a favourable response. So they basically gave a yes to parole to 65% of the people. Before lunchtime, so on an empty stomach, when they were hungry, they actually gave 0% parole. So they could really see that obviously the best time, if you have to go to court, is in the morning, but secondly, is that how much our glucose influences the decisions that we make. So what are we doing to balance glucose? I've talked about this before, but we want to make sure we don't have the sugary foods, the processed foods, and we want to combine protein with each of our meals because it helps to keep the glucose steady. It only has this slight decrease during the day rather than highs and lows, which is really going to create all of those symptoms in the brain. Next, we want to include smart proteins. Proteins are our building blocks. They're our building blocks to our neurotransmitters. These are the chemical messengers inside of our brain. So we're looking at tyrosine, tryptophan, serotonin. It is important that we have proteins in order to make those neurotransmitters. So it's pretty simple. If they're not in the diet, we cannot make those neurotransmitters. Okay, so we want to make sure that you're having the right protein requirements throughout the day. So at the very minimum, you need to have 1 gram of protein per kilo of body weight. So this is for someone who's not really active. So at a bare minimum, if you weigh 70 kilos, you need to have 70 grams of protein during the day, spread out through the day. If you're exercising and quite active, that goes up. But if you're looking at just 70 grams, what you need to look at is that a protein portion like chicken, meat, fish is your main animal sources of protein, which gives you the complete building blocks that you need for these neurotransmitters. A piece of chicken, say 100 grams of chicken, will give you 25 grams of protein. So it's not as if 100 grams of chicken gives you 100 grams of protein. If you need to reach 70 grams of protein a day, you need to spread that out throughout the day. The fourth thing is essential fats for the brain. Again, omega-3s, which is your essential fats, they are found in sardines, salmon, walnuts, flax seeds. So these are a rich source of brain food. So one of the most researched nutrients for mental health and mental well-being, for anxiety, depression and mood, is omega-3, right? So you can take it in a supplement. My recommendation is to get it through your diet because so much more bioavailability of omega-3 if you get it through the diet. So if you're not a sardine lover, which is a great way to get the omega-3, you can look at salmon and your walnuts and your flax seeds. As well as increasing omega-3, you want to make sure you reduce the trans fats. So this is your fried foods, your takeaways, your Uber Eats, right? They're going to have trans fats, which impacts your brain's ability to communicate, right? So really impacting your brain function. The second part is the mental game. So yes, our nutritional psychology or our nutrition affects our brain health and our mood and our emotional well-being. But then we also have the inner game. So what's actually going on in our head? Because a lot of people I see who are stuck in this kind of emotional roller coaster, unable to balance their emotions or deal with their emotions in a healthy way, that they really get stuck in these thought traps where they catastrophize their problems, they get stuck in a loop, they're overthinking, they can't let it go, it's always on their mind, they're worried, they're anxious, they're tense, it's a problem, right? So that kind of thinking really keeps us stuck in that stressful place. It really makes our emotions high and low. Now, there are 2 types of thinking. That thinking you may recognize, okay, being stuck in that loop and overthinking and the mind never shuts up and that mental load, right? So that's the noisy, busy, overthinking type of thinking. There is another kind of thinking which comes from a clear and calm mind. That's kind of this intelligent, intuitive thinking that helps us to navigate our life and our challenges. Now, when we get stuck in a lot of that noisy thinking, it's very hard to have a clear mind and have clarity in order for that more intelligent thinking to come through. So just to kind of give you an example, I have read in the past that Einstein, when he was stuck on solving a problem, his mind was stuck in that problem. He knew that he couldn't resolve it from that place. From that level of thinking, he knew that he couldn't resolve it. So what he would do, he would leave it all alone. He'd drop his books, he'd walk away, he'd either go have a nap, or the other thing that he really did was play the violin. And he knew that by playing the violin, eventually the solution to the problem would come to him. And that was his method. When he got caught up in that noisy thinking, he had to move away from it and something that would be totally different in order for him to gain clarity to problem solve. And we are no different, right? I don't think we make any good decisions in a busy, nervous, tense, worried, panicked mind, but we really do when we have clarity. We can really see things from a higher perspective and make the best decisions that we need. So the way that we kind of shift that focus away from the noisy thinking and allowing more of this clarity to come through is to, number one, really value the clarity of mind and seeing that from that place, you will find the best solutions to move forward. From the busy mind, you will stay stuck in that place for a long time. And this is something, the busy mind is something that we are so used to and accustomed to be in, but we really need to place more value on clarity. And so that might mean slowing down, pulling back, giving yourself some headspace, putting less in the calendar, creating more spaces so you have that clarity of mind so you can perform at your best. And one of the most powerful habits for emotional well-being is what I call the power of 8 before 10. This is getting to bed by 10 p.m. or before and getting 8 hours of sleep. When we sleep, our brain detoxifies, but it processes our emotions. So when we wake up in the morning, we see our problems in a different light, okay? So if we're not getting that sleep time, we're not getting those functions happening. when we're asleep, we're also getting the correct hormones being produced to help our body to recover and to heal. And again, if we're going to bed too late, say you're getting 8 hours, but you're going to bed at midnight, you're missing the deep sleep time. And it's in that window up till midnight that we get deep sleep, that our body goes through so much of this restorative work. So I want you to leave me a comment below. I know that it was a lot to take in, and those kinds of things you don't have to implement all at once. Even if you make 1 or 2 changes a week is enough to see an improvement in your emotions and how you handle your emotions. So I'd love for you to leave me a comment below. Have you seen how much your emotional balance has affected the way that you show up at work, the way that you lead your team, or the way that you solve problems in your business? Have you seen how food and your thinking plays a role in that? I'd love for you to leave me a comment below.